Hello, my good friends. How are you today? May God bless you all. I will not introduce anything. You guys watch the video and feel it. Then let's evaluate together. The conference hall in downtown Boston buzzed like a beehive on steroids. Spotlights sliced through the air, casting sharp beams on the stage where Kyla Robinson stood, her hands gripping the microphone so tightly her knuckles ached. The green dress she wore, patterned with bold African prints, clung to her curves. But it was her eyes, wide, fierce, and unyielding, that held the room captive. Flashbulbs popped like gunfire, and the crowd of reporters, investors, and tech bros in tailored suits leaned forward, hungry for blood. "Is it true?" Ms. Robinson, a reporter in a cheap blazer, shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Did you leak LearnSphere user data to sabotage the company?" Kyla's stomach twisted like she'd swallowed a storm. Her heart pounded, each beat screaming, "Stay calm, stay calm." She opened her mouth, but before she could speak, another voice, low, commanding, and laced with barely concealed tension, boomed from her side. "We're investigating the allegations," Carter Evans said, stepping into the spotlight. His gray suit was crisp, his jaw set like granite, but his blue eyes flickered with something Kyla couldn't read. Doubt, anger. "Kyla is still part of our team. We'll get to the bottom of this." The room erupted in murmurs. Kyla shot Carter a glance, her chest tight. Still part of the team. That was the best he could do. The man she'd married, fake married, sure, but still stood there defending her like she was a liability he couldn't quite shake. She straightened her spine, her Roxbury roots kicking in. She hadn't clawed her way from teaching in underfunded schools to building tech for kids like hers just to let this room of strangers tear her down. "I didn't sabotage anything," Kyla said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "I'm here to build something real, something that changes lives. You want to throw accusations? Bring proof, not headlines." A ripple of surprise passed through the crowd. A few reporters scribbled furiously. Others raised their phones, capturing every word. Carter's lips twitched, almost like he was impressed. But Kyla wasn't here for his approval. Not yet. The press conference ended in a blur of shouted questions and flashing lights. Kyla pushed through the double doors into a dimly lit hallway, her heels clicking on the polished floor. The air smelled faintly of lemon cleaner, a stark contrast to the suffocating tension her breath caught. The marriage. Of course, it was all fake. A contract to secure funding from her father's education foundation. Carter Evans, the golden boy CEO of LearnSphere, needed her to keep his company afloat, and she'd needed him to bring her vision of equitable education to life. But standing here, with his eyes locked on hers, it didn't feel fake. It felt dangerous. "Then why are you here?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "If you don't trust me, why not let me walk away?" Carter's hand moved, almost like he didn't mean to, brushing against hers. His fingers lingered, warm and steady, and Kyla's pulse skyrocketed. "Because I can let you go," he said, his voice rough. "Not now. Not like this." For a moment, time stopped. The hallway faded, the lemon cleaner, the distant hum of the city, the weight of the press conference. There was only Carter, his breath warm against her cheek, his eyes searching hers. He leaned in, and she didn't pull away. Their lips were a heartbeat apart when Kyla's phone buzzed in her pocket, shattering the moment. She stepped back, her face hot, and fumbled for her phone. A text from Maya, her best friend girl. "You slayed that press conference. Call me. Is Mr. Fancy Suit still being a jerk?" Kyla let out a shaky laugh, the tension easing just enough to breathe. "Saved by the bell," she muttered, shoving her phone back in her pocket. Carter raised an eyebrow, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. "Your friend Maya, you know her?" Kyla asked, surprised. I know she thinks I'm a stuck-up tech bro, he said, his smirk widening. She's not entirely wrong. Kyla snorted, caught off guard. She'd say you're at least 80% wrong, maybe 85. He chuckled. And for the first time, she saw the man behind the CEO mask, someone who might actually have a sense of humor. But the moment passed, and his face grew serious again. We need to talk about the leak. Kyla, if it's not you. Then who? She shook her head, her mind racing. I don't know. But I saw Derek Walsh acting shady in the office last week. He was on a call, whispering about data and deals. Carter's eyes narrowed. Derek, my product manager, he's been with me for years. Yeah. Well, loyalty doesn't mean much when money is involved, Kyla said, crossing her arms. You should check his emails. Carter ran a hand through his hair, looking torn. I'll look into it, but we can't accuse anyone without proof. Not after today. Kyla nodded, but her gut told her Derek was trouble. She'd seen his fake smiles, the way he hovered around her desk like he was waiting for her to slip up. If he was behind this, she'd find out. She wasn't about to let some scheming tech bro ruin everything she'd worked for. Let's get out of here, Carter said, glancing at the hallway. This place is giving me a headache. They stepped into this cool Boston night, the city alive with honking cabs and neon lights. The air smelled of rain and hot pretzels from a nearby vendor. Kyla pulled her coat tighter, her mind drifting to Roxbury, to the streets where she'd grown up. The murals splashed across brick walls, the sound of kids playing basketball, the warmth of her mom's cornbread fresh from the oven. That was her world, not this glossy tech scene where people like her were always underestimated. Carter walked beside her, his silence heavy. She stole a glance at him, wondering what he was thinking. Did he really believe her, or was he just playing the part of the dutiful fake husband? Flashback. A few weeks earlier, the LearnSphere office in Kendall Square was a tech nerd's dream: glass walls, a fancy espresso machine, and whiteboards covered in AI algorithms. Kyla had felt out of place the moment she walked in, her wooden beaded bracelets jangling against her wrist, her sneakers squeaking on the polished floor. Carter had greeted her with a handshake that was too firm, his eyes scanning her like she was a puzzle he couldn't solve. You're a Dr. Robinson's daughter, he'd said, more statement than question. He says you are the key to saving this company. Kyla had raised an eyebrow. And you don't believe him? Carter's lips had twitched. Not quite a smile. I believe in data, not promises. But if marrying you gets us the funding, I'm in. She'd laughed, partly to hide the sting. Marrying her was just a transaction to him, a way to keep LearnSphere from going under. Her father, Dr. Harold Robinson, had made it clear his education foundation would only invest if Carter committed to their mission of equitable education. And what better way to ensure that than tying him to Kyla, his daughter, who'd spent years teaching kids in Roxbury. Fine, Kyla had said, crossing her arms, but don't expect me to play the quiet trophy wife. I am here to build something real. Carter had looked at her then, really looked at her, like he was seeing her for the first time. Noted, he'd said. And something in his tone made her wonder if he was underestimating her or intrigued. Back in the present, Kyla's phone buzzed again. Another text from Maya. You could need me to come roast Mr. CEO. Kyla grinned, typing back, I am good, he's not that bad. Yet, she slipped her phone into her pocket, catching Carter watching her. What she asked, raising an eyebrow. Nothing, he said, but his eyes lingered, warm and curious. Just you handled that press conference like a pro. Had to, she said, shrugging. Growing up in Roxbury, you learned to stand your ground. He nodded like he was filing that away. They stopped at a crosswalk, the city lights reflecting in puddles on the street for a moment. Kyla felt the weight of everything: the fake marriage, the accusations, the kids like Jasmine who needed LearnSphere to succeed. But she also felt something else, something she wasn't ready to name. standing here with Carter in the middle of a chaotic night. Her phone buzzed one last time, but this time it was an email. She opened it, her breath catching, an anonymous message. Short and chilling. Kyla Robinson is working with EduGlobal. Fire her, or LearnSphere burns. She looked up at Carter, her heart racing. "We've got a problem," she said, holding out her phone. His face darkened as he read the email. "This isn't over," he said, his voice grim. "Not by a long shot." Hey, amazing readers, Kyla S. fighting for her name, but can she convince Carter to trust her? And who is behind that shady email? Subscribe to the channel to catch the next chapter of this roller coaster, and drop a comment below. Do you think Carter's got her back? Or is he still playing the skeptic? Let's talk. The Museum of Fine Arts glowed like a beacon in the heart of Boston, its glass atrium sparkling under a velvet autumn sky. Inside, the air buzzed with the clink of champagne flutes, the hum of small talk, and the faint scent of expensive perfume. Kyla Robinson adjusted, the strap of her red dress, the fabric hugging her curves like a second skin. The wooden beaded bracelets on her wrist jangled softly, a reminder of Roxbury, of home. She felt like an imposter in this sea of tailored suits and glittering gowns. But she wasn't here to blend in. She was here to shine. Carter Evans stood beside her, his tuxedo sharp enough to cut glass. He looked every inch the tech mogul, his jaw set as blue, eyes scanning the room like he was calculating its net worth. To the crowd, they were the perfect power couple. LearnSphere CEO and his brilliant new wife. But Kyla knew the truth. Their marriage was a contract, a deal to secure her father's funding, and after the disaster of the press conference a few weeks ago, when she'd been accused of leaking user data, every eye in this room was on her, waiting for her to slip up. "Ready for this?" Carter murmured, his voice low enough that only she could hear. Kyla raised an eyebrow, her lips curving into a smirk. "Born ready. You just try to keep up." "Evans," he chuckled, a sound so rare it caught her off guard. For a moment, she saw the man behind the CEO mask, someone who might actually have a heart. But then he straightened, slipping back into business mode. "The investors are watching. We need to sell them on the platform tonight. No mistakes, no pressure." "Then," Kyla said, rolling her eyes. But her stomach fluttered. This wasn't just about saving LearnSphere. It was about proving she belonged here, that a black woman from Roxbury could outsmart the tech bros and change lives. As they moved through the crowd, Kyla felt the weight of stares. Some were curious, others skeptical, a few outright hostile. She caught snippets of whispers. "Dr. Robinson's daughter. The leak scandal, is she even qualified?" And forced herself to keep her head high. She'd faced worse growing up, like the time a high school counselor told her she'd never make it out of Roxbury. She'd approved him wrong then, and she'd approved this room wrong now. "Kyla," a familiar voice called, cutting through the noise. Maya Jackson pushed through the crowd, her braids swinging her gold hoop earrings catching the light. She wore a mustard yellow jumpsuit that screamed confidence, and her grin was pure Roxbury mischief. "Girl, you look like you're about to steal the show. Or at least Carter's wallet." Kyla laughed, the tension in her chest easing. "Maya, you're gonna get me in trouble." "Trouble's my middle name," Maya said, winking. She turned to Carter, sizing him up like he was a used car. "So, Mr. CEO, you know how to cook collard greens yet? Or you still eating kale smoothies for dinner?" Carter's cheeks flushed, but he managed a smile. "I'm more of a takeout guy, but I'm open to learning." Maya snorted. "Uh-huh. Kyla, you got your work cut out with this one. Tell me about it," Kyla said, nudging her friend. Maya's humor was a lifeline, a reminder of the community that had her back. no matter what this fancy crowd thought. Before Carter could respond, a woman in a sleek blazer approached, her dark hair pulled into a tight bun. "Kyla, I am Lila Chen," she said, extending a hand. "I lead the AI team at LearnSphere. I've heard about your contributions." Kyla shook her hand, noting the slight pause before contributions. Lila's tone wasn't hostile, but it wasn't warm either. "Nice to meet you. Lila, I am looking forward to working together." Lila nodded, her eyes sharp. "We'll see. The platform's AI is my baby, so I am particular about who touches it." "Understood," Kyla said, keeping her smile polite. She'd dealt with gatekeepers before. Lila might be skeptical, but Kyla wasn't here to play small. As Lila walked away, Carter leaned in. "She's tough, but she's the best. Don't take it personally." "Oh, I don't," Kyla said, her voice light, but her eyes fierce. "I'm used to proving people wrong." Before Carter could reply, a man in a pinstripe suit approached, his smile too wide to be genuine. "Carter, Kyla, great to see you," he said, his voice dripping with fake warmth. "Derek Walsh, product manager. I've been dying to meet the woman who's got everyone talking." Kyla's skin prickled Derek. His handshake was clammy, his eyes darting like he was hiding something. She remembered the shady call she'd overheard in the office, Derek whispering about data and deals. "Nice to meet you." "Derek," she said, her tone neutral. "I hear you are the guy who keeps the platform running." "Something like that," Derek said, his smile tightening. "We're all just trying to keep up with Carter's vision. And yours, of course." "Of course," Kyla said, matching his fake enthusiasm. She didn't trust him, not one bit. The evening moved into the main event, a presentation to woo the investors. Carter took the stage first, his voice smooth as he outlined LearnSphere's mission to revolutionize education for underserved kids. The crowd nodded along, charmed by his polish. But when Kyla stepped up, the room shifted, whispers grew louder, eyes narrowed. She could practically hear their thoughts. "What's she doing here?" Kyla took a deep breath, picturing Jasmine, a 15-year-old from Roxbury, who'd told her the platform made her dream of college feel real. This was for her. For every kid like her, LearnSphere isn't just tech. She began, her voice clear and strong. "It's a lifeline. Our new AI feature lets kids learn through interactive games tailored to their needs. Imagine a student who struggles with math, but loves video games. We turn fractions into quests, equations into battles. We meet kids where they are." She clicked through slides showing mock-ups of the game-based learning module. The room went quiet, then erupted in murmurs of approval. Investors leaned forward, scribbling notes. Lila's eyes widened, a flicker of respect replacing her earlier skepticism. Even Carter looked stunned, his usual poker face cracking into something like pride. When Kyla finished, the applause was deafening. She stepped off the stage, her legs shaky but her heart soaring. She'd done it. She'd shown them what she was made of. "Impressive," Carter said as she rejoined him, his voice low. "I didn't know you had that in you." "There's a lot you don't know about me," Kyla said, her tone teasing but her eyes serious. "Stick around. You might learn something." He laughed, and for a moment they felt like a real team. But the moment shattered when an older investor, his face creased with privilege, approached. "Ms. Robinson," he said, his smile patronizing. "That was creative. But where did you learn AI? Roxbury isn't exactly MIT, is it?" Kyla's smile froze. The room seemed to hold its breath, waiting for her to crumble. "But she didn't, eh? I learned from the kids I teach," she said, her voice steady. "They're smarter than any algorithm, and they deserve better than your assumptions. Roxbury is my MIT, and it's taught me more than you'll ever know." The man blinked, clearly not expecting pushback. Carter stepped forward, his hand brushing Kyla's arm. She's right, he said, his tone firm. Kyla's ideas are why we're here tonight. Let's focus on the platform, not stereotypes. The investor mumbled an apology and slunk away, but Kyla's chest burned. She excused herself, slipping into a quiet side room with velvet curtains and a mahogany table. The weight of the night, the stares, the whispers. That man's smug face crashed over her. She pressed her hands to her face, willing herself not to cry. The door creaked open. Carter stepped in, his tuxedo jacket unbuttoned, his expression unreadable. "You didn't have to do that," he said. "Do what Kyla asked," her voice sharp. "Stand up for myself or deal with people like him." "Both," Carter said, closing the door behind him. "But you did, and you were incredible." She laughed, bitter. "Dawn to patronize me. Carter, I don't need your pity." "It's not pity," he said, stepping closer. His voice dropped, raw and urgent. "I was wrong. Kyla. I thought you didn't belong here, that you were just part of the deal. But you are not. You are the best thing about this company." Her breath caught. He was close now, too close, his eyes locked on hers. The room felt smaller, the air thick with something she couldn't name. "You don't get to say that," she whispered. "Not after you stood there at the press conference, acting like I might be guilty." "I know," he said, his voice breaking. "I messed up, but I am trying to make it right. I see you, Kyla. I see you now." Before she could respond, he closed the distance, his lips crashing into hers. The kiss was fire, urgent, desperate, like they'd both been holding back too long. Kyla's hands found his chest, gripping his shirt as she kissed him back, her heart racing. The table pressed against her back, the velvet curtains brushing her arm. But all she felt was Carter, his warmth, his need. The way he poured everything into this moment. They pulled apart, breathless, their foreheads touching. "What are we doing?" Kyla whispered, her voice shaky. "I don't know," Carter admitted, his thumb brushing her cheek. "But I don't want to stop." She wanted to believe him, to trust the man who'd just kissed her like she was his world. But doubt lingered, sharp and cold. Did he really see her? Or was this just the heat of the moment? A soft knock interrupted them. Maya's voice came through the door. "Kyla, you in there? I am not interrupting anything spicy. Am I?" Kyla laughed, the tension breaking. "You are the worst." "Maya," she called, stepping away from Carter. She smoothed her dress, her face hot. "I'm coming." Carter caught her hand, his eyes serious. "We are not done talking," he said. "Not about this, not about us." She nodded, her heart a tangled mess. As she opened the door, her phone buzzed with a new email. She glanced at it, her blood running cold. Another anonymous message. "Kyla is hiding more than you think. Check Derek Walsh's files." She looked at Carter, her pulse racing. "We've got another problem," she said, showing him the email. "And this time, I am not waiting for answers." Rain streaked down the glass walls of LearnSphere's Kendall Square office, turning the Boston skyline into a blurry watercolor. Inside, the mood was just as stormy. Kyla Robinson sat at her desk, her laptop screen glowing with lines of code she was tweaking for the platform's new AI feature. But her focus kept slipping, dragged back to that anonymous email from the gala check. Derek Walsh's files. She'd shown it to Carter, expecting him to jump on it, to trust her gut about Derek's shady behavior. Instead, he'd hesitated, and that hesitation stung worse than any press conference accusation. The office buzzed with low whispers, the kind that followed her everywhere since the leak scandal broke. Her co-workers stole glances, their eyes flickering with doubt. Is she the traitor their looks seemed to ask? Kyla tightened her grip on her coffee mug, the one Maya had given her with Roxbury royalty scrawled in gold cursive. She wasn't here to play victim. She was here to fight. Her phone buzzed, pulling her from her thoughts. A text from Maya. You at the office? Need me to bring some cornbread to cheer you up, or a baseball bat for Mr. CEO? Kyla snorted, her lips twitching into a smile. Cornbread sounds good. Hold off on the bat for now. She hit send, grateful for Maya's ability to make her laugh even when everything felt like it was falling apart. The glass door to Carter's office swung open, and he stepped out, his face a mask of controlled tension. His shirt was rolled up to his elbows, a rare break from his usual polished look, but his eyes were sharp, scanning the room until they landed on her. Kyla, he said, his voice carrying across the open-plan office. Can we talk? Heads turned, and the whispers grew louder. Kyla stood smoothing her sweater and followed him into his office, her heart pounding. The space was all sleek lines and modern minimalism, glass desk, a single cactus in a pot, a view of the rain-soaked Charles River, but it felt like a courtroom, and she was on trial. Carter closed the door, the click loud in the silence. He didn't sit, just leaned against his desk, arms crossed. I got another email, he said, his voice low, anonymous, like the last one. It says you've been accessing restricted files. Files tied to the user data. Kyla's stomach dropped. What? She stepped forward, her hands balling into fists. That's a lie. Carter, I haven't touched anything outside my scope. You know that. Do I? He asked, his tone sharper than she expected. Kyla, I want to believe you, but these emails, they are detailed. They've got timestamps, file names. It looks bad. Her chest burned, a mix of anger and betrayal. So that's it? You're gonna believe some random email over me after everything I did at the gala, after I put my neck on the line for this company? Carter ran a hand through his hair, his frustration spilling over. I'm not saying I believe it, but I can't ignore it. The board is breathing down my neck. The investors are spooked, and if we don't figure this out, LearnSphere's done. I need to know you are not hiding anything. Kyla laughed, the sound bitter. Hiding anything, Carter? I am an open book. I am here busting my ass to make this platform work for kids like the ones I grew up with. You think I'd throw that away? You think I'd betray Jasmine? Or any of them? Carter's eyes softened at the mention of Jasmine, the Roxbury teen Kyla had told him about, whose love for the platform S-Beta version had inspired her AI ideas. But he didn't back down. Then help me understand, he said. Why are these emails targeting you? Why not me, or Lila, or Derek? Because I'm the easy target, Kyla snapped, her voice rising. The black girl from Roxbury who doesn't look like she belongs in tech. Whoever's doing this knows you will doubt me first, and you are proving them right. The words hung between them heavy and sharp. Carter's jaw tightened, and for a moment she thought he might argue. But he didn't. He just looked at her, his expression a tangle of guilt and uncertainty. I don't want to doubt you, he said finally, his voice quieter. But I need proof. Kyla, for the board, for me. She shook her head, her throat tight. You want proof, fine. I'll find it myself. But don't expect me to beg for your trust. She turned to leave, but his voice stopped her. Kyla, he said, softer now. I'm sorry. I'm trying to fix this. She paused, her hand on the door. Try harder, she said, and walked out. The rain had slowed to a drizzle by the time Kyla reached the Roxbury Cafe where she was meeting Maya. The place was a slice of home-worn wooden tables, a jukebox playing old-school jazz, and the smell of fresh coffee and fried plantains. Kyla slid into a booth, her sweater damp from the walk, and let out a long breath. Maya arrived minutes later, her umbrella dripping as she plopped down across from Kyla. "Okay, spill," she said, peeling off her coat. "You look like someone stole your last slice of cornbread. What's up with you and Mr. Fancy Suit?" Kyla groaned, resting her head on her hands. "He thinks I might be the leaker. Maya. Or at least, he's not sure I'm not the leaker. After everything, he still doesn't trust me." Maya's eyes widened, then narrowed. "Oh, hell no. You are out here saving his company, and he's playing detective. He needs a reality check." Kyla laughed despite herself, the sound easing the knot in her chest. "Right, I told him I'll find the real culprit myself, starting with Derek. That guy's shadier than a back alley deal." Derek. Maya leaned forward, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "The one with the fake smile and the bad cologne. Yeah, he's giving major villain vibes. You got a plan?" "Not yet," Kyla admitted, sipping her coffee. "But I'm not letting him or Carter push me out. Those kids need this platform. I'm not giving up." Maya grinned, reaching across the table to squeeze Kyla's hand. "That's my girl. You Roxbury royalty. Remember, you don't back down. But maybe don't to go full hacker mode just yet. You are smart. But you are not exactly Black Widow." Kyla snorted, the image of herself in a spy cat suit too ridiculous to handle. "Okay, fair. But I'm not sitting around waiting for Carter to figure it out. I'm talking to Lila tomorrow. She's the AI lead, and she knows the system inside out. If anyone can spot something off, it's her." "Good call," Maya said, then leaned back, her grin turning mischievous. "Now, let's talk about that gala. Word on the street is you and Carter were getting cozy in some side room. Spill the tea, sis." Kyla's face heated, and she swatted Maya's arm. "It was just a kiss." "Okay. A moment. Doesn't mean anything." "Uh-huh," Maya said, clearly unconvinced. "A moment that's got you blushing like a teenager. You sure you're not catching feelings for Mr. CEO? Kyla groaned, burying her face in her hands. "I don't know. Maya, he's complicated. One minute he's kissing me like I'm his whole world. The next he is asking if I'm a traitor. I can deal with that." "Then Don T," Maya said, her tone serious now. "You deserve someone who sees you. Kyla, not someone who needs a PowerPoint to figure it out." Kyla nodded, her friend's words sinking in. But as she sipped her coffee, she couldn't shake the memory of Carter's kiss, the heat of it, the way it had felt like a promise, even if he couldn't keep it. The next morning, Kyla found Lila Chen in the LearnSphere server room, surrounded by blinking lights and humming machines. Lila's laptop was open, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she muttered to herself about data anomalies. She looked up when Kyla approached, her expression guarded but curious. "Hey, Lila," Kyla said, keeping her tone light. "Got a minute? I need your help with something." Lila raised an eyebrow, closing her laptop. "Depends. Is this about the leak? Because I'm not in the mood for office gossip." "No gossip," Kyla said, pulling up a chair. "I think someone's framing me, and I need to know if there's anything weird in the system, like, say, unauthorized access from a certain product manager." Lila's eyes narrowed. "You're talking about Derek?" Kyla nodded, lowering her voice. "I overheard him on a sketchy call a while back, talking about data and deals, and those anonymous emails. They're too specific. Someone with access is behind this." Lila leaned back, crossing her arms. "That's a big accusation. Kyla, Derek's a sleaze, sure, but a traitor. I'd need proof." "Then let's find it," Kyla said, her voice firm. "You know this system better than anyone. If there's a trail, you will see it." Lila studied her for a long moment, then sighed. "Fine. I'll run a deep scan. But if we were doing this, We are doing it quietly. Carter finds out. He'll shut it down. Deal, Kyla said, a spark of hope flaring in her chest. She wasn't alone in this. Not anymore. That afternoon, Kyla visited a community center in Roxbury, where Jasmine was waiting. The teen's face lit up when she saw Kyla, her braids bouncing as she ran over. Ms. Robinson, I got an A on my math test. The Platform S games make it so easy. Kyla's heart swelled, the weight of the day lifting. That's my girl, she said, pulling Jasmine into a hug. You're going to run the world someday, you know that. Jasmine grinned, then grew serious. I saw the news about you. People are saying bad stuff, but I know you'd never hurt the platform. You are the best. Kyla's throat tightened. Thanks, Jazz. That means more than you know. I'm fighting to keep this going. Okay. For you and every kid like you. Jasmine nodded, her eyes fierce. You got this, Miss Robinson. As Kyla left the center, her resolve hardened. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. She was fighting for Jasmine, for Roxbury, for every kid who'd been told they didn't belong. Back at the office, Kyla found Carter waiting by her desk, his expression unreadable. We need to talk, he said, his voice low. I checked Derek's emails. Nothing obvious. But I owe you an apology. I shouldn't have doubted you so fast. Kyla crossed her arms, not ready to let him off the hook. Words are cheap. Carter, you want my trust? Show me you mean it. He nodded, his eyes steady. I will. But we're running out of time. The board's meeting soon. And if we don't find the real leaker, they'll pull the plug on everything. Then let's move, Kyla said, her voice firm. Because I'm not letting this company or those kids go down without a fight. As they walked toward the server room to meet Lila, Kyla's phone buzzed with another anonymous email. She opened it, her blood running cold. You are too late. The launch is doomed. She showed it to Carter, her jaw set. Whoever's doing this is about to learn they picked the wrong fight. The Boston Public Library was a cathedral of knowledge, its grand reading room bathed in the golden glow of chandeliers. Mahogany tables stretched across, the floor lined with green-shaded lamps that cast soft pools of light. Kyla Robinson sat at one of them, her laptop open, surrounded by stacks of books on AI and education theory. Her oversized sweater slipped off one shoulder, and her wooden beaded bracelets clinked softly as she typed. The air smelled of old paper and polished wood, a quiet sanctuary from the chaos of LearnSphere's looming launch. Carter Evans sat across from her, his dress shirt unbuttoned at the collar, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms that Kyla tried very hard not to notice. His laptop screen glowed with mock-ups of the Platform's game-based learning feature, the one Kyla had pitched at the gala, the one that had investors buzzing. But tonight, with the launch just days away and anonymous threats piling up, the pressure was suffocating. Kyla rubbed her eyes, the words on her screen blurring. That last email still haunted her. You're too late. The launch is doomed, D shown it to Carter, and he'd promised to tighten security. But his hesitation to fully trust her lingered like a bruise. Their kiss at the gala had been electric, a moment that felt like a turning point. But his doubts afterward had pulled them back to square one. She wanted to believe he was on her side, but every time she let her guard down, she remembered his words. I need proof. You're staring, Carter said, his voice low, pulling her from her thoughts. He hadn't looked up from his laptop, but a faint smirk played on his lips. Kyla's face heated. I'm not staring, she said, leaning back in her chair. I'm just wondering how you can type so slow. We're on a deadline. Evans, he chuckled, finally meeting her eyes. I'm thorough, not slow. Unlike someone who's been rewriting the same line of code for 10 minutes, she gasped. Mark, offended. Excuse you. This code is a masterpiece. It's going to make kids like Jasmine fall in love with learning. You should be thanking me. His smirk softened into something warmer, something that made her heart do a little flip. I am, he said, his voice quieter. You're incredible. Kyla, I didn't see it at first, but I do now. Her breath caught the air between them, shifting. She wanted to brush it off, to keep things light, but his words hit deep for weeks. She'd been fighting to prove herself to him, to the team, to the world. Hearing him say it, even if it was just a glimpse of trust, felt like a crack in the wall between them. Don't get all soft on me now, she said, her tone teasing, but her eyes locked on his. We've got work to do. He leaned forward, his elbows on the table, closing the distance. I'm serious. That feature you designed, it's a game changer. I was wrong to underestimate you. Kyla's pulse raced. She could smell his cologne, woody, warm, distractingly good. The library felt smaller, the world narrowing to just them, soft hum of the lamps, the faint rustle of pages. Took you long enough, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. But I'm not here for your approval. Carter, I'm here for the kids. I know, he said, his eyes intense. And that's why I'm starting to... He stopped, like he'd caught himself before saying too much. Kyla's heart pounded. Starting to what? She wanted to push, to demand answers, but the moment felt fragile, like a bubble that might burst. Instead, she changed the subject. So, what's the plan if this launch tanks? You gonna sell LearnSphere to EduGlobal and retire to some yacht? Carter laughed, the sound echoing in the quiet room. A yacht? Nah, I am more of a cabin-in-the-woods guy. And I'm not selling. This company's my life. Well, that and keeping up with you, she grinned, leaning forward to match his posture. Good luck with that. I'm a lot to handle. Don't I know it, he said, his voice dropping, his eyes flicking to her lips. The air crackled, charged with unspoken tension. Kyla's breath hitched as Carter reached across the table, his fingers brushing hers. The touch was electric, sending a shiver down her spine. She didn't pull away, and neither did he. Their hands stayed there, barely touching, but it felt like the most intimate thing in the world. Kyla, he said, his voice rough, I need to say something. About the emails, the leak. I was wrong to doubt you so fast. I'm sorry, her throat tightened. She'd waited weeks for this, for him to see her, really see her. But apologies weren't enough. Not yet. Why now, she asked, her voice steady despite the storm in her chest. Because we are close to the launch, or because you actually believe me? Because I see you, he said, his eyes burning with sincerity. Not just the teacher, or the deal, or the woman I married to save my company. I see you, Kyla, and I don't want to mess this up. Before she could respond, he stood rounding the table in 2 strides. He pulled her to her feet, his hands gentle but firm on her arms. The library faded, the books, the lamps, the world outside. There was only Carter. His breath warm against her cheek, his eyes searching hers. Carter, she whispered, her voice trembling. What are we doing? I don't know, he admitted, his thumb brushing her jaw. But I can stop thinking about you. Not since the gala. Not since the first day I met you. Her heart pounded, a mix of fear and want. She knew this was reckless, that trusting him could break her. But in this moment, with his hands on her, his words echoing in her head, she didn't care. She rose on her toes, closing the distance, and kissed him. The kiss was fire deeper and more desperate than the one at the gala. Carter's hands slid to her waist, pulling her closer, and Kyla, as fingers tangled in his hair, anchoring herself to him. The table pressed against her hip, books scattering as they leaned into each other. It was messy, raw, a collision of everything they'd been holding back: doubt, desire, hope. She tasted coffee on his lips, felt the heat of his skin, and for a moment, nothing else mattered. They pulled apart, breathless, their foreheads touching. Kyla's chest heaved, her mind racing. "This doesn't mean I forgive you," she said, her voice shaky but firm. "You've got a lot to prove." "Evans," he laughed, soft and low, his hands still on her waist. "I know, but I'm gonna try. Kyla, for you." She wanted to believe him, but doubt lingered, sharp and cold. That kiss had changed something, but it hadn't erased the emails, the accusations, or the fact that someone was still out to destroy them. Her phone buzzed on the table, breaking the spell. She grabbed it, her heart sinking as she read the notification. An email from Lila. "Found something. Meet me at the office, now." Kyla showed it to Carter, her jaw set. "Lila S. onto something. This could be our break." He nodded, his expression hardening. "Let's go. But we're doing this together." "Okay," she hesitated, then nodded. "Together." The Learn Sphere office was dark when they arrived, the rain outside drumming against the windows. Lila was waiting in the server room, her laptop open, her face grim. "You're not gonna like this," she said, turning the screen toward them. Kyla leaned in, her eyes scanning the logs Lila had pulled. "What am I looking at?" "Unauthorized access," Lila said, pointing to a series of timestamps. "Someone used a back door to pull user data. The logs were wiped, but I recovered fragments, and they point to Derek's account." Kyla's pulse raced. "Derek, you were sure?" "Not 100%, Lila admitted. "The logs are messy, like someone covered their tracks, but it's his credentials, and there's more encrypted emails between Derek and an external server. I haven't cracked them yet, but they are suspicious as hell." Carter's face darkened. "Derek's been with me for years. Why would he do this?" "Money," Kyla said, her voice flat. "Or power. Edu Global S been sniffing around, right? They'd pay big to sink us." Carter ran a hand through his hair, his frustration palpable. "We need those emails. If we can prove it's him, we can stop this before the launch." "I am working on it," Lila said, her fingers already back on the keyboard. "But we've got a bigger problem. I found a script buried in the system. It's set to crash the platform during the launch. If it goes off, we're done." Kyla's stomach dropped. "Can you stop it?" "I am trying," Lila said, her voice tight. "But it is complex. Whoever wrote this knew what they were doing." Carter swore under his breath, pacing the room. "This is a nightmare. The board is already on edge. If the launch fails, they'll pull the plug." "Then we done let it fail," Kyla said, her voice firm. She turned to Lila. "Keep digging. I'll help however I can. We're not losing this." Lila nodded, a flicker of respect in her eyes. "You are not what I expected, Kyla." "In a good way." Kyla managed a small smile. "Good. Now let's save this company." As they left the server room, Carter caught Kyla's arm, his touch gentle but urgent. "Kyla, wait. About earlier, I meant what I said. I'm in this with you. All the way." She looked at him, her heart a tangled mess. That kiss had cracked something open. But trust was harder to build than passion. "I hear you," she said, her voice soft but firm. "But actions speak louder than words. Carter, show me you are all in." He nodded, his eyes steady. "I will." They stepped into the rain-soaked night, the city lights blurring around them. Kyla's phone buzzed again. Another anonymous email. She opened it, her blood running cold. "You are digging too deep. Back off, or everyone pays." She showed it to Carter, her jaw set. "They were scared," she said, "which means we're close." Carter's hand found hers, his grip firm. Then let's keep digging. Together. The Roxbury Community Center pulsed with life, its parking lot transformed into a vibrant festival under a gray autumn sky. Food trucks lined the edges, dishing out fried plantains and barbecue ribs, while a local jazz band filled the air with soulful saxophone notes. Murals splashed across the center's brick walls. Bright swirls of color depicting black heroes and dreamers reminded Kyla Robinson of why she was fighting so hard. Stood in the crowd, her scarf loose around her neck, her wooden beaded bracelets catching the faint sunlight. Kids darted past, laughing, and for a moment, she could almost forget the storm brewing at Learnsphere. Almost. The latest anonymous email still burned in her mind. Back off or everyone pays. Lila S. discovery of a script designed to crash the platform during the launch had confirmed their worst fears. Derek Walsh was playing dirty, likely in bed with Edu Global, Learnsphere's cutthroat competitor. And with the launch just days away, the clock was ticking louder than a bomb. Kyla's phone buzzed in her pocket. A text from Maya. You at the festival? I am by the jerk chicken truck. Got a plate with your name on it. Kyla smiled. The promise of Maya's company, a small anchor in the chaos. She wove through the crowd, spotting her best friend's mustard yellow coat and signature gold hoops from a mile away. Girl, you look like you need more than chicken, Maya said, handing Kyla a foil container piled with food. What's got you so stressed? Is it Mr. CEO or that shady Derek guy? Both Kyla admitted taking a bite of chicken and savoring the smoky heat. Lila found proof Derek S. behind the leak, but it's not enough to nail him. And there's a script in the system that could tank the launch. If we don't stop it, everything's over. Maya's eyes widened. Damn, that is some corporate espionage nonsense. You sure you're not in a spy movie? Kyla laughed, the sound easing the knot in her chest. Feels like it, but I'm not letting Derek or anyone ruin this. Those kids need the platform. Jasmine is counting on it. Speaking of Jasmine, Maya said, nodding toward the stage where a group of teens was setting up for a poetry slam. She's about to perform. You should stick around. Might remind you why you're doing this. Kyla nodded her heart, lifting at the thought of Jasmine. The 15-year-old had become her North Star, a reminder of what was at stake. But before she could head toward the stage, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was Lila. Cracked one of Derek S. emails. It's bad. Meet me ASAP. Meet. Kyla's pulse raced. I gotta go, she told Maya, shoving the chicken back into her friend S. hands. Lila S. got something on Derek. Maya grabbed her arm, her face serious. Be careful. Kyla, this dude sounds like he's playing for keeps. I am always careful, Kyla said, flashing a grin she didn't fully feel. Save me some chicken. The Learnsphere office was a ghost town when Kyla arrived. The rain outside pounding the windows like a warning. Lila was in the server room, her face illuminated by the blue glow of her laptop. Carter stood beside her, his jaw tight, his shirt rumpled like he'd been up all night. The air was thick with tension, the hum of servers the only sound. What did you find? Kyla asked, dropping her bag and joining them. Lila turned her laptop, showing a decrypted email. This was buried in Derek's account sent to an Edu Global exec. It confirms he's been feeding them our user data, and there's more, he's the one who planted the crash script. He's betting on the launch failing so Edu Global can swoop in and buy us out cheap. Kyla's stomach churned. That snake, we've got him, right? This is enough to take to the board. Not quite, Lila said, her voice grim. The email's damning, but it's not a smoking gun. We need direct proof tying him to the script, and the script is still active. I'm working on disabling it, but it is like defusing a bomb blindfolded. Carter swore under his breath, pacing the room. If we don't stop this, the launch is dead. The board's already looking for excuses to pull funding. They were spooked by the leak scandal. Then we confront Derek, Kyla said, her voice firm. Call him out, see if he cracks. Carter stopped pacing, his eyes narrowing. That's risky. If he's working with Edu Global, he'll cover his tracks. We could tip him off and lose our shot. And if we do nothing, we lose everything. Kyla shot back. I'm done playing defense. Carter, we take the fight to him. Lila raised an eyebrow, a flicker of admiration in her eyes. She's got a point. I'll keep digging into the script. You two handle Derek, but be smart about it. Carter looked at Kyla, his expression a mix of worry and resolve. Okay, we do this together. But we need a plan. Kyla nodded, her mind racing. I've got an idea, but you're not gonna like it. The next morning, Kyla stood in the Roxbury Community Center again, this time for a different kind of performance. Maya had insisted on a rehearsal to prep Kyla for confronting Derek. And somehow, it had turned into a full-blown comedy routine. The center's small meeting room was cluttered with folding chairs and a whiteboard, and Maya stood in front of Kyla, holding a pen like a microphone. Ms. Robinson, Maya said, adopting a fake reporter voice. Is it true you hacked the Pentagon to steal their alien secrets? Kyla burst out laughing, clutching her sides. Maya, come on, I'm supposed to be practicing for Derek, not some sci-fi conspiracy. Same thing, Maya said, grinning. That dude's got a guilty face like he's hiding Area 51 in his basement. Now hit me with your comeback. Kyla straightened, channeling her inner Roxbury fire. Derek, I know you are behind the leak. We've got your emails, your logs, everything. Come clean, or we're taking this to the board. Maya clapped, hopping in place. Yes, that is my girl. You sound like you're about to drag him through the mud, but maybe add a little sass. Like, keep playing dirty. And I'll make sure your LinkedIn says professional trader by Monday. Kyla snorted, shaking her head. You're ridiculous, but thanks. I needed this. Maya's grin softened. Anytime, sis. You're a Roxbury royalty. Remember, Derek has got nothing on you. Kyla hugged her, the laughter fading into determination. Maya was right. She wasn't just fighting for herself. She was fighting for Jasmine, for every kid who'd been underestimated, for the community that had raised her. As she left the center, her phone buzzed with a voicemail from her father, Dr. Harold Robinson. His voice was warm but firm, the way it always was when he knew she was struggling. Kyla, I heard about the trouble at Learn Sphere. You re-stronger than this, stronger than any of them. Your mother used to say you've got a fire in you that no one can put out. Don't let them dim it. Call me if you need me. Kyla's eyes stung her father's words, wrapping around her like a hug. She thought of her mother, a teacher who defaced her own battles with prejudice, who taught Kyla to stand tall no matter what. I wanted to let you down. Mama, she whispered, pocketing her phone. Back at Learn Sphere. Kyla and Carter put their plan in motion. They called an emergency team meeting, ostensibly to discuss launch logistics, but the real target was Derek. The conference room was stark, with a long glass table and a view of the rainy Boston skyline. Derek sat at the far end, his smile as fake as ever, his eyes darting nervously. Carter took the lead, his voice calm but authoritative. We read days from the launch, and we've hit some roadblocks. Lila has found anomalies in the system, unauthorized access, deleted logs. We need to address this now. Derek shifted in his seat, his fingers tapping the table. That's concerning, he said, his voice too smooth. But I'm sure Lila's got it under control. Right, Lila's eyes flicked to Kyla, a silent signal. Kyla stood, her heart pounding but her voice steady. Actually, Derek, we found something else. Emails from your account, sent to Edu Global. Care to explain? The room went silent. Every eye on Derek. His smile faltered, but he recovered quickly. That's absurd, he said, laughing. You are grasping at straws. Kyla, I'd never betray LearnSphere. Then you won to mind us auditing your account, Kyla said, stepping closer, because those emails mention user data and a script designed to crash the platform. Sound familiar? Derek's face paled, but he doubled down. This is a witch hunt. Carter, you're not buying this, are you? Carter's gaze was steel. I'm buying the evidence, Derek, and right now, it's pointing at you. Derek stood, his chair scraping the floor. You are making a mistake, he said, his voice low. You will regret this. He stormed out, leaving a stunned silence in his wake. Kyla exhaled, her legs shaky but her resolve ironclad. He's rattled, she said to Carter. We are close. But before Carter could respond, Lila burst into the room, her face ashen. It's worse than we thought, she said, holding up her laptop. The script has been activated. It's set to go off during the launch, and I can stop it remotely. We need to shut down the servers now. Kyla's heart stopped. Shutting down the servers would delay the launch, maybe kill it entirely, but letting the script run would destroy everything. She looked at Carter, his face a mirror of her own fear and determination. We can shut down, she said, her voice fierce. Those kids are counting on us. Jasmine's counting on us. Carter nodded, his hand finding hers under the table, his grip steady. Then we fight, he said. Whatever it takes. Kyla squeezed his hand, her eyes burning with resolve. Whatever it takes. The convention center in downtown Boston was a sea of lights and anticipation, its high ceilings draped with sleek banners proclaiming LearnSphere education for all. The stage glowed under spotlights, a massive screen behind it, flashing mock-ups of the platform as game-based learning feature. Kyla Robinson stood backstage, her heart pounding like a drum. Her dress, a vibrant swirl of African prints, shimmered under the stage lights, and her wooden, beaded bracelets clinked as she adjusted her earpiece. This was it, the launch that would make or break LearnSphere, the moment she'd been fighting for. Carter Evans stood beside her, his suit impeccable, but his eyes alive with a mix of nerves and determination. His hand brushed hers, quiet reassurance, and she felt the warmth of their partnership forged through doubt kisses and a shared mission. The memory of Lila's bombshell still echoed. The crash script was active, set to sabotage the platform in front of investors, press, and the world. But Kyla wasn't backing down. Not now. Not ever. You ready? Carter asked, his voice low, his blue eyes locked on hers. Kyla flashed a grin, channeling her Roxbury fire. Born ready. Evans, let's show them what we've got. He chuckled, the sound easing the tension. You're gonna steal the show, again. Damn right, she said, squeezing his hand. Now let us save this company. Backstage. Lila Chen was a whirlwind of focus, her laptop tethered to the platform's servers. She'd been working non-stop to neutralize the crash script, her fingers flying across the keyboard. I've got a temporary patch, she whispered, not looking up. It'll hold for the demo, but we need to find the source code to kill it permanently. Derek S. covered his tracks well. Kyla nodded, her jaw tight. Derek Walsh was the key to this mess, and tonight they'd expose him. Their plan was risky use, the launch to bait him into revealing himself, while Lila traced any attempt to trigger the script. It was a gamble, but Kyla was done playing safe. The MC's voice boomed through the hall, introducing LearnSphere. The crowd, hundreds of investors, educators, and tech enthusiasts erupted in applause. Kyla took a deep breath, picturing Jasmine, the Roxbury teen whose dreams depended on this platform. This was for her, for every kid who'd been told they weren't enough. Carter took the stage first, his voice smooth as he outlined LearnSphere's mission to democratize education. The crowd leaned in, captivated by his vision. But when Kyla stepped up, the room shifted. Whispers rippled, some curious, others skeptical. A few still tainted by the leak scandal. She felt their eyes, their doubts, but she stood taller, her voice clear and commanding. LearnSphere isn't just a platform. She began her words ringing out. It's a promise to kids like the ones I grew up with in Roxbury, who deserve a shot at their dreams. Our AI doesn't just teach, it listens. It turns math into quests, history into stories, science into adventures. It meets kids where they are and lifts them to where they can go. She clicked through slides demoing the game-based learning feature. The screen showed a virtual world where fractions became treasure hunts, where a student like Jasmine could conquer algebra by battling dragons. The crowd gasped, then applauded. The energy electric. Kyla caught Carter's eye, his smile one of pure pride. Even Lila, still typing furiously backstage, gave her a quick thumbs up. But the real test was coming. Kyla glanced at Carter, signaling the next phase. He nodded, stepping back to the mic. Before we continue, he said, his voice steady, we need to address a challenge. We've effaced attempts to sabotage this launch, unauthorized access, stolen data, and a script designed to crash our platform tonight. The crowd murmured, shocked. Kyla's heart raced as Carter continued. We've traced the activity to someone inside LearnSphere, and we are giving them a chance to come clean. Right now. The hall went silent, every eye scanning the room. Kyla watched Derek, seated near the front, his face a mask of calm, but his hands twitched, betraying his nerves. She held her breath, waiting for him to crack. He didn't. Instead, the screen behind Kyla flickered, then went black. Gasps rippled through the crowd as error messages flashed, system failure, data corrupted. The crash script had triggered. Kyla's stomach dropped, but Lila's voice crackled through her earpiece. I've got it. The script is running, but I'm tracing the signal. Keep them talking. Kyla stepped forward, her voice cutting through the panic. This is exactly what we're up against, she said, her tone fierce. Someone wants us to fail, to keep kids like mine from getting the education they deserve. But we're not giving up. Not today. Not ever. The crowd roared, their applause drowning out the error messages. Carter joined her, his presence steadying her. We are fixing this as we speak, he said. LearnSphere is stronger than any attack, and we are proving it right now. Backstage. Lila's fingers flew, her face lit with triumph. Got him, she hissed into the earpiece. The signal S coming from Derek's laptop. I've unlocked his access and recorded everything. We've got the bastard. Kyla's heart soared, but she kept her cool. She turned to the crowd, her voice ringing. We've just identified the source of the attack and we are shutting it down. Carter took over, his voice like steel. Derek Walsh, our product manager, has been working with Edu Global to undermine us. We have proof emails, logs, and a live trace of his sabotage attempt tonight. Derek, do you have anything to say? All eyes turned to Derek. His face went white, his fake smile crumbling. He stood, his voice shaking. This is a setup. You reframing me to cover your own failures. But the crowd wasn't buying it. Boos erupted, and security moved in, escorting Derek out as he shouted denials. The screen flickered back to life, the demo restored, and the crowd cheered, the energy euphoric. Kyla took the mic again, her voice steady but emotional. This platform isn't just for us. It's for every kid who has been told they don't belong. Like Jasmine, a girl from Roxbury who's going to college because of what we are building. Tonight, I'm proud to announce the LearnSphere Scholarship Fund, starting with a commitment to support Black students in Boston, because they are not just our future, they are our now. The crowd leapt to their feet, their applause deafening Kyla, as eyes stung as she thought of Jasmine, of her mother, of every teacher who'd fought for kids like her. Carter stepped beside her, his hand on her back, his voice low. You did it. Kyla, you changed everything. She looked at him, her heart full. We did it, she said. And for the first time, she believed they were truly in this together. The Roxbury Park was a dream under the stars, its trees strung with fairy lights, tables laden with soul food, mac and cheese, collard greens, peach cobbler. The air smelled of barbecue and magnolias, and a live band played soft R&B, the saxophone weaving through the night. Kyla stood in a flowing white dress, her braids adorned with gold beads, her smile brighter than the moon. Carter, in a tailored suit with a hint of African print on his tie, looked at her like she was the only person in the world. Their real wedding, not the fake one, was a celebration of love, community, and triumph. Maya, in a teal gown, took the mic for her maid of honor speech, her grin pure mischief. Why, all I told Kyla not to fall for this guy, she said, pointing at Carter. I mean, a CEO with a penthouse suspicious. But I gotta admit, he's not half bad. He's learned to love cornbread. So that's a start. The crowd laughed, and Kyla swatted Maya's arm, her cheeks aching from smiling. Dr. Harold Robinson, her father, stood next, his voice warm and proud. Kyla, you are your mother's daughter, fierce, brilliant, unstoppable. And Carter, you are family now. Dawn to mess it up. Carter raised his glass, his eyes twinkling. I wouldn't dare, sir. Jasmine, radiant in a purple dress, hugged Kyla, her voice soft. You kept your promise. Ms. Robinson, I am going to college because of you. Kyla's throat tightened, and she hugged Jasmine back. You're going because of you, Jazz? I'm just cheering you on. As the band struck up a slow song, Carter pulled Kyla onto the dance floor, his arms wrapping around her. The fairy lights blurred, the crowd faded, and it was just them, swaying to the music. I love you, he whispered, his lips brushing her ear. I think I did from that first day, even when I was too dumb to see it. Kyla laughed, her heart full. Took you long enough, Evans, but I love you too. They kissed, soft and deep, the world melting away. The crowd cheered, and Maya's voice rang out. Get a room. Why all? Later, as the party wound down, Carter slipped away to check his phone, his face clouding. A new message, anonymous but chilling. Enjoy the win. Evans. Edu Global is not done with you. He deleted it, not wanting to ruin the night, but his jaw tightened. Whatever was coming, he'd face it with Kyla by his side. Kyla joined him, her hand slipping into his. What's wrong, she asked, her eyes sharp. Nothing, he said, forcing a smile, just thinking about how lucky I am. She raised an eyebrow, clearly not buying it, but she let it go. Come on, she said, tugging him back to the dance floor. We've got a party to finish. As they danced, the stars above Roxbury shone brighter, a promise of new battles and brighter days. LearnSphere was safe. The scholarship fund was launched, and Kyla and Carter were a team unbreakable, unstoppable. But somewhere, Edu Global was watching, and the fight was far from over. Hey, incredible readers, Kyla and Carter saved the day, but is Edu Global's threat looming larger than they think? Subscribe to the channel too. Catch what's next in their epic journey, and drop a comment. What did you love most about their victory? Or what do you think Edu Global is planning? Let us hear it.